The Xbox Activision deal is once again in the news, with Microsoft dedicating a whole website to it, and Sony is out here aggressively trying to do everything they can to completely block the deal. There's a lot here to talk about, so let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall419, the man with the million, back again with another video. I hope everybody is having a great day. And if you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new, and make sure to check out that Patreon. But let's dive straight into it. This video is going to be mostly, if not all, about the Xbox Activision deal, because we got some more information in the past couple days about the timeline that the CMA is working on, just when the FTC might give out their judgment. Microsoft made a website talking about all the benefits the Activision deal will bring to gamers and the gaming industry, and it wouldn't be one of these sort of videos without a little talk about my favorite man, my favorite leader in the video game industry, the one and only Jim Lying Crying Dance Moves Ryan. Although I'm gonna have to change his name for this episode, at least for this video, to Jim Flying Ryan, because information came out that he wasn't just on the phone with the CMA like I had said in a previous video. That wasn't good enough for Jim Ryan. He actually hopped on a plane, flew over to Brussels, and had an in-person meeting to discuss the deal. And he might even have brought his good friend, the leader of the now shut down Google Stadia, Phil Harrison, to voice their concerns about the deal. There's a lot here going on, so I'm just gonna pick a topic and we're gonna jump right into it. You know what? I'm just gonna stick with the whole Jim Ryan thing because it's part of the title and I haven't decided what that's going to be yet. But this sort of broke last week, and we have it here. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan flew to Brussels to voice concerns to the EU over Xbox's Activision deal. Sony has publicly stated its concern over Call of Duty's future under Microsoft. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan reportedly flew to Brussels last month to meet with European regulators currently scrutinizing Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. According to deal reporter sources, the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO personally visited the EU headquarters on September 8th to voice the console rivals' concerns over the proposed $70 billion deal. As has been widely publicized in recent weeks, PlayStation's concerns over the deal are around the future release arrangements for the Call of Duty series, which is regularly PlayStation's annual bestseller, and whether it will be pulled from their platforms. Google is also said to have voiced its concerns to EU regulators, according to the same sources. Last month, Xbox boss Phil Spencer said Microsoft had committed to making Call of Duty available on PlayStation for several more years after Sony's current marketing deal with Activision expires. However, SIE CEO Ryan, who is reportedly seeking access to future Call of Duty games on equal terms and in perpetuity, responded publicly by calling Microsoft's proposal for keeping the series on PlayStation consoles, quote, inadequate on many levels. Later that same month, Sony welcomed the news that the UK competition regulator has launched an in-depth probe of Microsoft Activision's Blizzard deal. Quote, by giving Microsoft control of Activision games like Call of Duty, this deal would have major negative implications for gamers and the future of the gaming industry. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting gamers. Yes, we fondly remember all the comments that Jim Ryan has said recently, the comments that PlayStation has said about the deal. I mean, it's clear as day. I said it during those videos last month. PlayStation does not want this deal to go through. Jim Ryan knows that no business is going to give an agreement to somebody for a game or whatever it would be in perpetuity. He knows that, being a businessman himself. So this whole crying over 3 years and it's not enough and you gotta think of PlayStation gamers is all just a bunch of front for the things that PlayStation wants. Jim knows that Microsoft is never going to give them, hey, we're going to give you Call of Duty forever. And Jim knows that these regulators can't give that sort of remedy even if they approve it and say, hey, Microsoft can own this company, but Call of Duty is going to be forever on PlayStation. Jim knows these things aren't going to happen because he wouldn't give any insurances to any other company for any of his games either. So this is him just out here protecting his business interests, protecting PlayStation's bottom line, trying to prevent and stop Microsoft and Xbox from becoming a even bigger player in the video game industry, because they certainly do not want Xbox on the same level as PlayStation. They certainly don't want Xbox Game Pass to keep on growing and growing and growing, because that's something Sony themselves would have to fight, and they've kind of admitted they don't have the resources to do that right now. However, the funniest part about all this to me, and this whole situation, is just hysterical. I love it to death. Hopefully it goes on for more months so we can talk about the drama between Jim Ryan PlayStation and Phil Spencer's Xbox, because it is giving me life. I love it. It's so hysterical. Is that Jim didn't even have to call the EU. He personally flew out there. I wonder, did he fly economy? Did he fly on PlayStation's private jet? Was it first class? You know, I joked around in previous videos about Jim Ryan behind the scenes talking to these people, being like, you know, this is bad for PlayStation, and since it's bad for us, it's bad for gamers. And that sort of felt like the CMA agreed with PlayStation, as their responses pretty much read like PlayStation PR lines. You know, they said it was bad for consumers because it might be bad for PlayStation. Now, I never imagined in my wildest dreams that Jim Ryan was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to go meet these people in person, shake some hands, kiss some babies, sign some autographs, and basically tell everyone that this is not what you want. This is horrible for competition because it's horrible for us. We don't want Microsoft to own Call of Duty. Please block this. Now, hopefully Microsoft is doing their due diligence, because those sort of opinions aren't going to hold up in a court of law. It's just going to be facts. Is the deal monopolistic? Is it going to stifle competition? All those sort of things. And it really doesn't seem to me, at least, that PlayStation or Jim Ryan have given any adequate answers as to why. I do have to wonder what they're saying to each other behind closed doors in person, don't you? And it's all just really funny to me to see that apparently now Google has concerns about the deal. When asked during the Brazilian regulators, back when Stadia was still alive, they didn't seem to care. They mentioned how Call of Duty has all this other competitions. They mentioned how there's other publishers and developers out there. It seemed that at the time, back when the Brazilian thing was going on, they didn't have any concerns about the deal. But now, suddenly, once Stadia's been shut down and Phil Harrison has basically almost destroyed the third company in his third try, now he's like, wait a minute, we got concerns now. Are PlayStation and Google gonna team up? We've seen the articles that say Google blamed Microsoft and Xbox for the shutdown of their own first party because Microsoft bought Bethesda. Google, the trillion-dollar company, just didn't want to compete. So you have people out there saying, Microsoft, that's proof that Microsoft is behind this. They can't have this because it's going to drive companies like Google out of the business. But in reality, Google had a terrible business model. They didn't have anything gamers wanted. Cloud gaming right now doesn't really have a player base. That's something 5 to 10 years from now. Stadia failed because Google didn't want to invest, not because Microsoft took Bethesda off the board. So with everything going on, with Sony voicing its concerns, with now apparently Google piling on as well, Microsoft put out a website dedicated to the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal. It's basically a website designed to speak to regulators about why the deal's good and maybe even get some of the media on their side. I don't know. It's kind of a little weird. I've never seen a website for an acquisition be made like this. I know a lot of people have said that this website means that Microsoft is sort of frightened or scared that the deal might have hit some road bumps. I'm of the opinion that this is just Microsoft not taking any chances whatsoever. You gotta be proactive. This is the biggest acquisition in Microsoft history, and they don't want it to get blocked. So I think they're just being very careful about everything. And the website is our vision for gaming, more choice and more games for people everywhere. Keep in mind, this is Microsoft's reasons for why the Activision Blizzard deal should go through and why it benefits everybody. Players and developers are at the center of Xbox. We want to enable people to play games anywhere, anytime, and on any device. and developers deserve more options to build, distribute, and monetize their groundbreaking games. When we do this, we all win. That's why we're sharing more on the industry and how our acquisition of Activision Blizzard fits into our gaming strategy. And they have this nice, helpful graph here to explain everything. Benefits of Xbox and Activision Blizzard. It benefits the players, with more games on more devices, including Xbox, PlayStation, phones, and online. Choice in how and where people buy games with subscription and one-off purchase options. For the 95% of gamers who play on phones, alternatives to gaming offerings from the dominant mobile platforms. But it also has benefits for game creators. More ways to get games in front of more players through support, investment, and better access to gamers. Better revenue and fair marketplace rules through our App Store principles. Greater flexibility in payment systems and the experience they provide their fans. But also, they're not done. It has benefits for the gaming industry. As you can see, Microsoft is laying out point by point by point exactly how this deal is good for gamers, as well as the industry, which is contrary to PlayStation's statement saying that it's bad for gamers and bad for the industry. So they go on to say more competition in mobile, where a couple of big players dominate, greater competition in traditional gaming, where Sony and Nintendo will remain the biggest, an emphasis on positive workplace culture, and increased local investment for Microsoft in studios and creative ecosystems around the world. Now, I haven't exactly thought of a title for this video, but this is definitely something where Microsoft and Xbox are responding directly to PlayStation. So keep that in mind when you think about why Microsoft would make this website. And I don't know, maybe those people are right. Maybe they think the deal is sort of hanging by a thread. It's not going to happen, even though Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer both recently said they feel very, very confident that the deal is going to go through. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Maybe Jim Ryan's a charismatic talker, and he has this whole plan built by his lawyers, and he has convinced people that this deal's bad. Who really knows what's going on? I personally feel that Microsoft isn't taking any chances, and this is why a website like this exists. Now, we have some information about when the FTC might rule on this deal. So, a U.S. Federal Trade Commission decision on Microsoft's planned $70 billion acquisition of Activision may come as early as late November. The review is still at the staff level and is expected to go through the Bureau of Competition and on to the commissioners over the next several weeks, according to a Deal Reporter item. FTC in late March requested more information about the proposed deal, opening an in-depth antitrust review of the transaction, and the FTC staff are said to have significant concerns about the transaction, Deal Reporter said, citing two sources. The regulator is talking to other parties and competitors about their issues with the deal, including Google and Sony. It certainly seems like our good buddy is definitely flying a lot recently this past month, racking up those free miles, visiting Brussels to talk to the EU about the deal. Now you get reports that the FTC has concerns and they're talking to PlayStation as well as Google. So Jim Ryan might be on the world tour, visiting anybody and everybody to talk about this, while probably bringing with him the corpse of Phil Harrison after he shut down Google Stadia, pointing at Phil and being like, look, Google couldn't even compete with Xbox, and they have way more money than us. We're losing a ton. I don't know if you've seen Sony stock prices recently, but we've lost a ton of money. And if Google can't compete with Microsoft, then how is poor little Sony supposed to be able to? And then we have the CMA, the UK watchdog. We have their administrative timetable. And you can see in September and October that they've been gathering information, issuing questionnaires with third-party hearings. And I guarantee you, Jim Ryan was probably at those third-party hearings. In December, we're going to have the main party hearings, verifying information, considering provisional findings, and deadline for all party responses submissions before provisional findings. And in January of next year, 2023, notify provisional findings and possible remedies if required, consider possible remedies and response hearings if required. February, final deadline for all parties' responses and submissions, and then by March 1st, 2023, statutory deadline to publish the final report. So there you have it, the timetable for the CMA as well as the FTC. I think the EU will decide by November that they need to go into more investigations, so that probably won't happen until 2023. I've always said I thought the deal would close sometime next year, and it's certainly looking like it. March might be the month. That's when the CMA decides. Who knows about everybody else? But yeah, we have Jim Ryan, we got Google voicing their concerns, we have Microsoft making a website talking about, hey, this deal's all sunshine and rainbows for everybody. There's no problems here. It's great for everybody. Great for the players, great for game creators, great for the industry. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, share this out on social media. Make sure you check out the Patreon in the description below, and please hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to check out the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.